Hey everybody, today we are talking about Blackberry Pie Murder by Joanne Fluke. This should actually be a pretty easy, straightforward recipe. It's just blackberry pie, so I'm actually pretty excited to make this because I just feel like I can be successful at it. So while I make the pie, I'm going to tell you about our story, which of course is another murder mystery, but it's actually got kind of a different feel than some of the other ones that we have read lately. So I'm excited to talk about that too. First off, they are planning for her mother's wedding, for Dolores's wedding to Doc. And so it starts out with Hannah and her sisters being frustrated because her mom is just changing her mind again and again and again about what she wants for the wedding. Even though she said the sisters could plan it, she continually changes her mind about what she wants them to plan. And so they are not being very successful in planning anything at this point. So that's kind of how it starts. There is also a really bad lightning and thunderstorm right at the beginning of the book, and Hannah has to go pick up Lisa because her car is in the shop, so she can't get to work. And so she has to drive out in this bad weather. It's really hard visibility. It is like daytime, but it's early morning, and the rain and the thunder and the lightning is making it really hard. And so she's driving slower than normal, like she should, but she has to curve out of the way to avoid hitting a tree branch that's in the road. And by doing so, she doesn't have enough time to recorrect her turn, and she ends up hitting something on the road. And they pull over and they get out and they go try to see what it is that she hit. And it turns out it is a person that she hit. Let's just say that this storyline is completely different than what we're used to because Hannah actually killed somebody. And so the way that this is like a murder mystery is different because, I'm going to let you read and figure out how that part comes into play, because this is not one of those Hannah figures out who the killer was and she goes and she gets chased by them and she almost dies by herself like always. Okay, this is a story of herself and how she feels about this. It's an accident, obviously, but she feels horrible about it because, she hit a person. But there are still, even though I just told you that, there are still some big surprises and twists of who it is, because nobody can figure out who it is at first. So there's that. They have to figure out who it even is. And then there are more details at play here that can determine, like, well, why was he on the side of the road to begin with? Was he already dead before she hit him? They have to do all of that kind of investigating to figure out if she actually did kill someone or not. I'm gonna start doing the next step, which is assembling some of this stuff. So first things first, we are supposed to rinse the blackberries and put them into this large bowl here. And then, after we pat them dry, and then we are going to combine some sugar, flour, nutmeg, cinnamon, salt, all here in the small bowl. So that's what I'm going to start doing now. So very early on in the story, she gets called into the police station to get her statement and all of that, and then they have to take her car and get it looked at to assess whether the injuries on the man match the injuries on her car, to see if she actually is responsible for killing him or not. And I don't want to give away the entire book here, so I'm not going to really tell you much more about whether she was innocent or guilty. She did hit him, but this book is called Blackberry Pie Murder, so that makes you think, well, doesn't that mean that she's the murderer and she's gonna go to jail for vehicular homicide? And so essentially she does get charged with vehicular homicide, I believe. But she does make bail and then they're going to be setting a court date, and they're continually figuring out the evidence just to see if she needs to go to jail and for how long and all that. So there's still a lot of uncertainties about it that when you read, you will get more pieces of the puzzle so that it can be more clear in your mind and in Hannah's mind on how this situation even happened to begin with. Like, why was there a person in the middle of the road to begin with? Whoop, that was a little more than a 1/4 teaspoon, but I like nutmeg, so it's fine. And then we're supposed to do a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. Oh, let me just do it like this. That's a tiny bit more, but that's also fine. Okay. So shifting back to the pie for a minute, the next step that we are going to do is we are going to put this dry ingredient mix on top of the blackberries, and then we're going to try to toss to coat them because we don't really want these to burst because they're already going to be juicy enough when they bake, and we don't want to like make it super runny. So we'll see if I can do that. I have never made a blackberry pie before. We don't eat blackberries very much. We eat more like blueberries and strawberries and stuff like that. But I do like blackberries, so I'm excited to see how this is gonna taste. Oh, goodness. I'm gonna probably need something to help me with this. Anyway, back to the story. She is trying to also make a blackberry pie for this, oh, actually, no. I think she's supposed to be making the cookies for the party. And the blackberry pie is actually just being made by, I think it's Winnie Henderson. Her grandson is having, or maybe her son, well, I think it's her grandson, is having a birthday party, and she's going to be making the blackberry pie, I think. And so she was making some, and somebody stole one of them from her windowsill. I personally have never seen anyone like put a pie to cool like in the windowsill. My mom never did that. Growing up where we grew up, like we never had a house by like a ranch or a nice place like that where we could do that. And then like, I don't know, we just never did that. And here it is in this story where she's actually doing that and like putting it on the windowsill, and like one of them gets stolen, and that comes into play later in the book. And so then that kind of leads to more answers later on in the book that we're looking for. It also kind of comes back to this like stolen pie situation. So that's why the theme is blackberry pie in this one. And anyway, while she's trying to make cookies and stuff, there's also this side story about where she like won this lottery where she got to win, since she won this like, well, I think she like donated to something, and there's a raffle, and then you can win something. And that's what happened. She ended up winning this exercise machine, but they didn't tell her what it was until it got delivered into her house. So there's like this side story about the exercise machine and her cat being really silly with it, and while they're still trying to figure out who this person is that she killed. I will say that I think the way that she feels about this, I don't know if it's because she's been around so many dead bodies and murder that she's a little desensitized at this point, because she doesn't really seem like she's freaking out about killing someone as much as I think she should be. She's obviously like, she does feel bad, but I feel like with everything she's been through and the pace of how the story's going and all the things with her mom's wedding and she just wants to learn more about the person and I don't know, get closure on the fact that this happened, because maybe knowing who it was will help her forgive herself more. I don't know. I feel like she didn't feel as sad as she should have felt. I mean, there's never a point where she like breaks down and cries. about it. Sometimes things like that in stories does bother me if it's just like, okay, get over it, that it's been done, you need to learn how to live with it. I feel like in this situation it would take longer to deal with it and live with it if this is what you were dealing with. And so in this story, I was kind of hoping that there was a moment where she would like just kind of break down and cry in Norman's arms because, you know, I'm Team Norman if you haven't found out by now, if this is the first video you're watching of mine. I just feel like there were so many opportunities where she could have just let herself feel a little more, but it didn't happen. Hannah's not allowing herself to like really, like, she admits her fault, and she also says, you know, it was an accident. I think that's part of it, is that she is letting herself believe, and because of it was an accident. I think she was able to kind of rationalize and think of all these things to be able to make her feel less bad about the situation. But I just think that in this situation, no matter what the circumstances are, no matter how you tell yourself, yeah, it was an accident, it wasn't intentional, and maybe that does make you feel a little more peace about what happened, but I still feel like that is something that if it were me, I would be having a much harder time accepting that in reality, someone did get killed and it was you that did it, you know, that it was her that did it. And I just feel like, I don't know, that's my 2 cents on it, on that situation. But anyways, I need to learn how to multitask better. We are going to pour these carefully in here. We're gonna make a layer, a nice good layer at the bottom where there's no gaps, and then we'll start to put the leftovers on the top after that. So let me just get these in a nice layer. That's really like all that there is that I could say about the story. She does get her answers about who the person was and what kind of person they were, and all of those things get resolved, of course. While they're trying to figure out all of these things, I will say this is another one of those books where I was like, oh my gosh, this is so obvious. It's so obvious who the person is. Like, when they find a detail about who the person is and why they were in Lake Eden, one of the details of that is that they were trying to find a girl who supposedly ran away to Lake Eden. He was trying to track a girl down. And earlier in the story, we learned that there was this girl who ran away from home when she was like 14, and she recently returned home. And so I'm thinking, once Hannah finds out that that's why he was in town, was he was looking for a girl, I'm like, hello, it obviously is that girl that just came back after so many years. Like, that's the only person who's come into town recently that's different, that hasn't been here before. So how could she have not connected the dots sooner to that? I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, that with how she's done this like 16 times, how would she not be able to connect the dots that is the person, and immediately go talk to that girl to be like, hey, did you know this guy because he was chasing you to this town? Like, it should have been so obvious to her, but it takes her like another 40 pages or something to figure that out. And I'm like, come on, girl, it should not have been that hard. But I will say there were things that did happen that were ending up being the truth, that I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I didn't see that particular thing being a reality, or that I didn't see that coming exactly. So I guess there is still some stuff that I'm like pleasantly surprised about that I couldn't predict. But I just feel like I just wish that things could be, for us as readers, a little harder to figure out. Or if it is obvious, let Hannah figure it out at the same time that we figure it out, because she should be able to figure it out faster than us as readers when she's so well versed in mysteries at this point. But yeah, anyways, I'm looking at this and I'm realizing that I should have bought more blackberries. I thought this was gonna be enough, but I could have used another one. I think it's maybe because I'm using a 9-inch pan instead of an 8-inch pan, but this is like the only pie pan I have. It's just gonna be a little less full, I guess. And now I know that for the future, that if I make this again, I'm gonna need 4 packs instead of just 3 packs, but I thought that was gonna be sufficient, so my bad. Okay, so the next thing we need to do, I'm pretty sure, is just cover it with the next part and then bake it. Oh, we do need to cut the butter. We need to cut a little bit of butter into it as well. So I need to do that, and then I'm going to also put the other pie crust on. So the options for this, you can just put it on and make some slits. You can do a lattice, like, crisscross thing. I really want to do that, and in her instructions she says you're on your own for that because it's hard to describe how to do. So I might need to watch a video real quick on how to do it and so I can try to do it. I already know I'm gonna be too impatient and it's not gonna be perfect, but I want to try anyway. So that's the next step we're gonna take here. Okay, so I watched a video and it actually wasn't that hard after all. But like I said, not the prettiest, but also kind of empty on the inside because of the lack of blackberries. But it's still, I think it might still turn out looking kind of cute once I cook it. So, or once I bake it rather. So yeah, here it is. Now we're just going to bake it for like 50 to 60 minutes. Mine will probably take less because it's more spread out, I'm imagining. So I'm gonna put it for 50. I'm gonna check it about 20 minutes in though, because I'm worried about the crust burning. So I might cover it partway through. It doesn't say anything about that, so, but I just really don't want it to burn. So I'm going to be checking up on that. So while this is baking, I'll tell you a little bit about the end of the book and then we'll do the taste test. The story wraps up with kind of a cliffhanger actually. And of course these books are supposed to continue on. It's a huge story. Told over time, and this is the 17th book. It's more of like a cliffhanger in this instance because it doesn't really end at a very satisfying place. I feel like she's eating with her sisters and her mom and Doc. They're all eating dinner together, and Hannah's lawyer comes up and lets her know that her trial court date is set for like a week before her mother's wedding. And so she's like really nervous about if she's going to be able to actually make her mother's wedding or not, or if she's going to be going to jail. And so it like ends on kind of a sour note because it's like, yeah, you're still responsible for this. I'm wondering if in the next book it is kind of like a part 2 to this one where we'll figure out what happens to Hannah. Yeah, I anticipate learning about what's going to happen to her in the next book. Hopefully it doesn't do like a time jump and it's like, I mean, I don't think they would do that because then she'd have to skip the whole wedding if she did a time jump. So I'm pretty sure it's gonna start right where it left off. But that just means I need to read it quicker this time because I waited several months to get to this book. So now I don't want to do that for the next book. But yeah, so that's kind of how this one ended. Okay, I cannot wait any longer. I really want to try it. It turned out really good actually from the look of it, and did actually put some sugar on top of it. That was a suggestion of something to do, so I put some sugar on it before I baked it. You can see it's kind of sunken in, and yes, that's because I didn't have enough blackberries. I think it would have, you know, the lattice top would have looked a little straighter and better. It's kind of swoopy because it's laying on the blackberries because of, you know, not having enough to hold it up. But that's fine, as long as it tastes good, right? So I'm just gonna do like a baby piece right now because I kind of want to have some later probably too. So I'm gonna just try to get like a little bit, and then I'm going to, yeah, it's a really baby piece. Get a proper thing. Okay. And I want to taste it plain and then with a little bit of ice cream because that's how you should have pie, right? With whipped cream or with ice cream. So I will do that too, but I wanted to taste it plain first. Oh my gosh, it's too small that it looks a little ridiculous. Okay, but that's fine. Okay, let's try it. Okay, there's my little ice cream for a minute. Here's the blackberry pie on its own. Oh, it's so good. It's so good. You can taste the cinnamon. I feel like I taste the cinnamon more than the nutmeg, but it could be just the blending of both that I'm tasting, really. But that is so essential. If you like cinnamon, if you like nutmeg, you gotta put them in here. I feel like it needs at least one of those things just to bring out the flavors. They just pair so well with fruit in general. I like putting nutmeg and cinnamon in like everything. I just think that it really makes the flavor profile so much more enhanced and better, rather than it just being like, you know, runny fruit or whatever. Yeah, you could taste the little like seeds of the blackberry. In that bite, I had that. The first bite was mostly just the sauciness, the juiciness. But I like the little seeds just for like texture, just a little bit of crunch. So hopefully you like that too if you're making a pie with blackberries. Let's try it with some of this ice cream now. Just what you would expect for it to taste like with ice cream. It just gives it a more creamy, a milky, creamy flavor. It makes it less, okay, I was gonna say it makes it less rich, which I don't think that's true, but having the ice cream with it makes it so that it's not too like sticking to the roof of your mouth, or it's like, do you get what I'm saying? It helps to have an extra like liquid, even though that it's juicy on its own. It's a thicker kind of juice. So then when you add something like this where it can melt and make it a little bit thinner, then it's a little bit easier to finish. I think it's less dry, because even though there's so much juice from the blackberries, I feel like if you don't have ice cream or whipped cream on top of a pie, the pie is so thick that and the crust makes it seem like it's dry because of that. So I would definitely recommend some kind of cream base on top to give it that give it that thinner kind of texture, I guess. It was great. Super successful. I will probably make it again in like a month from now and have an extra amount of the blackberries to see how much more of a lift we can get. And the lattice work was actually not hard at all. So I would probably make it exactly this way again, just with more blackberries, because I think the amount of cinnamon and nutmeg that I put in there was perfect. The flavor of these blackberries is really good. I don't know if they're in season right now, but they taste great to me. Just not too sweet. They are a little more on the tart side, so the ice cream can help with that too, but it's not tart enough to be off-putting, in my opinion. But anyways, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next baking video. Bye.